In this video, we'll be taking a look at parenting in Blender. No, not that kind of parenting. So let's see how it works. So parenting can be a very important concept in Blender. So this can be used in many different scenarios. So let's first understand how it's going to work. Now let's go ahead and create a copy of this object and move this along the x-axis like that. Parenting is important when you want to connect two objects together so that they sort of transform together without sort of joining them together. You'll see this better if we do it. So let's go ahead and select the children object first and then select our parent object as our active selection. And then we can go to the object menu and down here we have parent, or we can press Ctrl P, the keyboard shortcut, and then we have a few options here. Let's select this first one. As soon as we do that, you'll see this relationship line moving between these two objects. And also if you look at in the outliner, we have our parent object and then there's a hierarchy. So inside that we have our children object. So when we parent two objects together and we select the parent object and then we start transforming it, all that transformation is going to be applied, or the children object is going to be affected by the transformation of the parent. So when we move the object, rotate or scale, all of the transformation will be applied to the children object. So this can be really important in cases, for example, if you have a car and you want to move the wheels along with it, you can't join wheels and car together because then you can't rotate the wheels individually. In this case, if we select the children object, we can rotate, we can scale, and we can do all sort of transformations to the children object without it affecting the parent object. But when we move the parent object or do any transformation to the parent object, it will be affected on the children object. So you can see it gives us a lot of advantage in a lot of different situations. Now there are a few things to keep in mind as you're parenting these objects together, because if you want to unparent this object, for example here, and you can see that we did move this object around a little bit after parenting these two together, and if I select the children object and I want to unparent this, I can press Alt P to open the clear parent menu. And now here we have clear parent. But as soon as I do that, you'll notice something. So this object gets unparented from that object, and it also loses all of that transformation that happened to the parent object and was inherited by this children object. So if you want to keep that when you unparent your objects, then you have another option. So let's go ahead and select this child object again, Alt P to open the clear menu, and then you say clear but keep transformations. So now it's unparented. If I move the parent object, you can see it's not affecting, but at the same time it kept the transformation that it inherited while it was child of that object. So that's something to keep in mind. And there's one more thing very important. So if we go ahead and let's go ahead and reset by pressing Ctrl Z a couple times. Actually, let's just delete both of these objects and create a new cube object. So let's say that I have this object here, and then we duplicate this on the x-axis and then we parent this object to this one. So let's do that, and then I move this a little bit to that place area like that so that there's a transformation. And for some reason, let's say that I want to parent this to a different object. So let's go ahead and add a separate cube and move it up there. So this object is now parented to this one, and for some reason let's say that I want to parent it here. So if I select this object and then this object and then press Ctrl P and parent, you can see something happened. So what's happening here is that this object is first getting unparented from that object and moving or reverting back to its original transformation, and then it's getting parented up there. So if you don't want to do that, in those kinds of situations, you would want to use the second option when parenting object while keep transforming. So when you're parenting this object, but at the same time keeping transformations. And now you can see that it parented the object, but it kept its original transformation from that other parent object. Now these are the two options that I use often in Blender, but there's one more thing that we can go over, but I haven't had any use for it, but let's just go over it anyways. So let's go ahead and select all of these objects and get rid of them. Shift A to add a object. Let's add a cube object, and let's enable the wireframe mode at the top so we can see this a little bit better. And let's add a cylinder object. So let's say that I have these two objects and I moved this cube object and then I scaled it up a little bit and then I rotate this a little bit. Now if I select the cylinder object and then select the cube object and parent these together, you can see that this cylinder object didn't inherit the transformation that happened to the cube before parenting these objects together. So if that's something that you want to do, in that sort of case, before parenting, you can press Ctrl P, and then you can select this third option that says object without inverse. So you can see that it sort of inherits that. So I haven't had any use case for that, but you might find something useful. So that's how the parenting relationship works in Blender.